Welcome to session 1 in our expert panel series for supply chain. Today, we are getting into a recent project we implemented at a leading kombucha manufacturer. So this is very demand planning and trade promotion heavy, especially for CPG. We're going to talk about the challenges they faced, our solution, and just giving some more insights around the project and what another CPG company like them might be experiencing. So these are interactive. We love questions, comments. My name is Elena Kane. I will be the host today, talking through the interview. And as you can see here, this is our roundtable today. So we have, I think, about 100 years of supply chain experience here with us today. So we have Chris Loudon, he's our Senior Director of Supply Chain, Michael LaHood, who is a manager. We have Matt Russell, who's a director, and Rob Villalta, he is another manager. So all of these men have been working on supply chain projects for us, especially in CPG. So we're excited to get their feedback. Let's hop into the session. Chris, we'll start with you. So give me a little bit of a description of what this client was kind of going through, what made them start really wanting to have a planning solution implemented.
Okay, sure. So growing company, BrewDr Kombucha in the beverage space. Like a lot of growing companies, as they got bigger, they realized the importance of good supply chain planning processes. But as a young company, never had really deployed that growing up. So basically, like a lot of companies that are in that situation, they're doing things on spreadsheets, and they don't really have a shared process that connects their different departments together. So what they do on spreadsheet is not really connected to anything, and it doesn't really support collaboration and getting to a really good planning number. That's one of the key needs of a company as they grow is to do better planning, but to base that on a foundation of a good plan that starts with a good forecast. And this is one of the reasons why they decided demand planning would be one of the first areas that they wanted to jump into. And because of their being new to it, they hadn't deployed anything like a stat model, which is usually used as a starting point in order to get to a final forecast after they enrich it with their promotional plans and their market intel. So they had a lot of the standard challenges of a company that's at that point where they're ready to dive in and begin doing some solid planning.
So you see this as kind of a common issue amongst like hypergrowth CPG companies?
Yeah, it's very common. We run into it all the time, and it's always a pleasure to jump right into demand planning and get a system based on Anaplan that'll really make a difference for everything else that they plan, which is based off of that first step of demand.
And so like when you're just, doing Excel and not really having a standardization, what kind of problems does this lead to in their business?
So when you're not planning well, you can't get a good supply plan. You can't get a good idea of how to manage your inventory. A supply chain is one of the areas where you're going to find a lot of real definable value, where you can show a return on investment for a solution. When you improve your customer service levels, for example, you'll see direct impacts on your revenue. When you improve how you manage your inventory, so the opportunities are great with this kind of a solution.
So when they started shopping around for different solutions and we became into the sales cycle, what are some things that they were asking for? What are some of the things that we delivered on?
So in the sales cycle for BrewDr, we spent a lot of time doing some targeted demos for them. So we specifically designed some features or some demos that would show them exactly how we would solve some of their specific issues. So in other words, where they didn't have any knowledge of what best practices were being deployed by other companies in their industry, we showed them how you could do that and customized it and tailored it around BrewDr's data so that they had an idea of how efficient and how flexible the Anaplan solution is. Even before they decided to use it, they were able to see that. They were to see how quickly we were able to do and develop a targeted demo. I thought that was very impressive to them, and that helped to seal their mind, or make up their mind as to why choose Anaplan over the other options.
Yeah, I can imagine seeing their actual data like being used, and seeing the models and all the algorithms really can make a difference.
Mm-hmm. Right. Another thing that we saw that I think had a big impact on their decision was specifically when we showed them the functionality in Anaplan that allows them to drill into any specific cell and see what numbers were being used to calculate the value that they're looking at. And that then you can continue to drill down and you can easily see where something is coming from. Unlike where people are using Excel spreadsheets for planning, it's very vague what you look at when you see, well, where did this number come from? So that was one thing. And another big thing that helped them make up their mind was just emphasizing the speed at which we can implement these custom processes. And then also how we update scenarios in real time. And when they see the results of those updated scenarios propagating instantaneously throughout the entire model, that's very impressive. That's functionality that's unique to the Anaplan technology that you just don't see anywhere else. So I think that also impressed them to the point of saying, yeah, this is the solution we want to go with.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit more about kind of learning their business and how we go about actually like determining what kind of demos and things that we need to show them?
So that's part of the standard discovery process that we do as we go through the sales cycle. So we have specialists on our team that are dedicated to doing and setting up demos. And then we utilize our modelers, such as the people who are also on our call today, to actually do like proofs of concepts, to do some specific, okay, here's how you solve this exact issue. And, here's how you could do it in your environment.
Anyone want to comment on what they did as far as all the pre-sales stuff and building demos?
It's a real unique opportunity that Anaplan provides where the customer is able to state their exact problem and they can give us the data, and very quick, depending on the size of the lift they're asking, but we can turn around really quickly your data, answering your questions. And it's really impactful for the customer to be able to see that in the sales cycle and give an idea to the flexibility that they're going to inherit through this, right? It's not only through the sales cycle that we can turn things quick. We turn things quick during the stand-up process. We turn things quick after it goes live. So the flexibility and dynamic nature of Anaplan lends itself well to the whole process.
Yeah, and that's something that you don't see when you're looking at other systems demoing, because they're not so easily customizable. So you're not going to see something specific and targeted like you do when we do a demo.
Yeah, and then they have like no surprise, right? They know exactly what they're going to get. They've been walked through everything, and it's just, oh, okay, no surprises. We're good.
The fact that Anaplan is like a blank canvas, there's so much you can do, and something that differentiates us from some other systems is that the client can see their blueprints, their process turned like you said, Chris, very quickly, like you said, Matt, and almost instantaneously, and that's really impressive for them because it allows them to continue with what they're doing. But more important than that, because it's so flexible, you're not in this situation where you're in a black box. You have to follow a certain path, and Anaplan is really flexible. And so a lot of times the customer comes back and says, you know what, this not only does what I want it to do, but it does, or it can do so much more. And they end up learning, what is phase 2? What are our possibilities? So I think this is really important.
So let's get into those phases that we did. So this project was specifically around demand planning and trade promotion. So Chris, do you want to talk a little bit about what we implemented and kind of where that's helping them now?
Yeah, I'm eager to get into this because this is where we really excelled on this particular project. So the solution came out fantastic. So what we deployed for them was two things: a trade promotion management piece, but foundationally the demand management, the demand planning piece, which in our case consists of a multi-step process, which begins with a base stat forecast, which is one side of everything, and then an enrichment process, which was multi-level for adjustments And this allows for a smooth way to get a starting point for the demand, and then to enrich it with market intel and promotion plans and contracts, and then come up with a consensus forecast that's agreed upon by the involved parties. And so we have a consensus process as the final step that allows them to now say, okay, here's this cycle's forecast. We can use this going forward. Now, there was two things that were very unique about this particular deployment. The first one I want to talk about is the way that we set up their hierarchies. Now, a lot of companies that have used Anaplan for demand planning use the stat model that Anaplan provides in their app hub as a starting point, and which is it's a good model because it does contain 27 statistical algorithms that are used to get a stat forecast. And so rather than rebuild that, many companies start with that. Well, Accelytics has a custom version of this stat model that is set up for CPG companies in particular. CPG companies almost always need to have double hierarchies, one for product and one for customer. If you don't have those two hierarchies, it's kind of hard to really slice and dice your stat forecast. It requires a lot of technical work where you're concatenating things. And we avoided all of that by using a model that we custom developed to have product and customer hierarchy perfect for any CPG industry customer or manufacturer. That was one thing. The other thing that was really unique about our deployment, and maybe I'll let Michael Hood give the high-level explanation, a problem that's unique to CPG companies, the main customer base, for example, in the United States, anyone who's selling to like retailers like that includes supermarkets, going to be faced with a complexity where there's a duality of customers and distributors. And in order to have effective plans, you need to have the ability to interact and make adjustments and planning changes related to a distributor and related to a customer. And I've seen a lot of deployments and customers that have struggled in dealing with the relationship between, okay, I'm planning at a distributor, but I've got sub-customers under this. Now, this customer also belongs with several distributors. How do I make adjustments and make it all flow together? So what we did, and it was a unique solution that we've deployed in the past, it's very effective, is we set up two separate hierarchies, one that's rolling up to distributor and one that's rolling up to customer. Both hierarchies have the same bottom level. And at that bottom level, it allows them to communicate together. In other words, we can now combine adjustments and planning changes, anything that's made from the point of view of a person in this business managing a distributor or somebody who's in the business managing a customer. So you can do your promo plans at either level, make the adjustments and changes, and they'll roll back up together and be combined into a single view that the business can then look at to see, here's the total grand plan. So I don't know if, Michael, if you have anything to add about that as to how we actually accomplished that. I know that was one of our main tricks, but one of the main successes of our story at BrewDoctor.
Yes, that was actually one of the biggest challenges that they had at BrewDoctor was this dual hierarchy of retailers and distributors. So what we did was each hierarchy has 4 levels. Level 3 on the retailer side being the actual retailer, level 3 on the distributor side being the actual distributor. Then we concatenated those to create a common level 4, which enabled us to easily shift the data back and forth. And in their planning process, they start on the retailer side because that is the largest chunk. So using subsets, we were able to allow the retailers to only forecast for the retailers that they were responsible for. And then once they're done, we take that data at the level 4 and move it over to the distributors and roll it back up. And then using distributor subsets, we allow the distributor side to plan without affecting what the retailer side has done. And at the end of the day, you get this complete retailer/distributor forecast that is the combination of both of the dual hierarchies, and then they can move that into their supply chain.
And even though this sounds relatively complex, we accomplished all of this on time and on budget. And the client was very happy.
Yeah. So what are they kind of seeing now that it's launched and they're using it?
So there's a lot of benefits, and they're only just now beginning to see the true potential. So they're in the process now of adding in their 2024 promotional contract plans, which is a pretty extensive undertaking. It's about a 6-week process. Once this is finished, they're going to be able to, for the first time in their company's history, track spending on specific promotional contracts versus the plan, actual spending versus plan, which is going to allow them to manage a lot better. So in the past, they would never know if they were underspending or overspending at key accounts and critical places. And so there was just no visibility. So now they're going to be able to do that. That's one of the big wins. Some of the other big wins are that the process to create a forecast has been simplified and it's made faster. So instead of spending weeks focusing on spreadsheets and numbers and coordination, they're spending days just getting the system updated with the latest actual data so that they can run, so they can look at what the new forecasts look like. And then they're spending their time enriching that forecast and seeing scenarios of changes in the forecast and what their implications are down the line. So those are some of the benefits they're already starting to see from this deployment.
Yeah, just hearing like everything you implemented, I can only imagine how difficult that was to do in Excel, and honestly just have no idea what was going on.
And plus, for the fact that they're using a stat model for the first time, they're actually starting off with a base that's more accurate than what they were starting with in the past. So that first critical step is better, leading to an ultimately more accurate forecast. And depending on the company, just small improvements in forecast accuracy have big implications on bottom line and revenue. So we're really pleased to see that they're already seeing these benefits of improved accuracy, improved process, collaboration, everything that they need in order to get that first most important fundamental step of good demand forecast. We believe that now that they're seeing the benefits of that combined with trade promotion management, that they will also delve into new use cases in their next planning year for Anaplan in general. So we see a lot of future benefit for them as well.
So I know we got a lot of good feedback. Can you share some of that with us, what the client said after we finished?
Yeah, we spent a lot of time working with a couple of key players on their side. One of them was the subject matter expert and our project sponsor from the business side. And this person took on a role heavily involved with our build process, which was excellent. We always encourage that. This allowed for them to make sure that we were building what they were envisioning, and so that those two things would stay connected. And also it allowed them to become independent more quickly. And so they're very happy that they feel comfortable taking on and managing this model after the project was over. And the other thing that came out of it that was very positive is the executive sponsor involved, in the vision for this, planning out this project, and has, as a longtime consultant on many projects in many different countries, made the comment to us more than once at the end that he'd never seen a project that had been so that was so successful without any problems, on time, on budget, and was just surprised at how quiet it was and how few data issues we had at the end. And we attribute that completely, and he did as well, to the skill and quality of our model building team, and that we have people who know how to get things done, and we know how to plan and manage a project and do a rapid deployment of a first-class, state-of-the-art business process, customized, unique, tested, working, ready to go. And yeah, give the credit to our model builders and also our client, which, like I said, they were really good. Their subject matter experts were all good and involved. And we've got a lot of positive feedback from the client in this case.
Does anyone have anything else they want to share about the project or working on it? Maybe anything they've learned or what they would tell someone else that's kind of going through the same thing that BrewDoctor was?
Yeah, I think one of the big wins for BrewDoctor was the fact that, and I think Chris mentioned this earlier, for their trade promotions, they were actually only tracking spend for like the largest part of that. So they were not even tracking spend for, Chris, 25-30% of what their trade promotions were. They were only getting the big customers and the big retailers, and all the little ones were just dropping off. And we actually incorporated a process that now they can track spend for all of their retailers and distributors.
But I think the power of Anaplan in itself leads to the next user story. And where I get excited and where I start seeing that begin to meld is when we start talking about tying in real-time supply chain data into cash flow documents on on the finance side. And once we start connecting those dots and connecting those silos within an organization, now you're really talking about unlocking the true power of Anaplan, even beyond the wins that BrewDoctor have that we've talked about. There are multiple user stories for multiple wins that they have down the road with Anaplan. It's not an SAP implementation. You stand it up and you're done with it. Nope, it's the power of imagination. Whatever you can think of next, you can do within Anaplan.
Looking forward to see what they go to next. So I think we'll wrap it up for now. I really want to thank our team for joining us and sharing your knowledge.
We hope you enjoyed this panel session. Be sure to check out more in our series. And if you're interested, be sure to hit subscribe and like so you can be the first to know about our next upload.